Hi.
Hey, how are you?
So I'm low-key eating dinner right now. So I hope you don't mind. I just got home.
Oh, listen, it's been, I'm sorry about last night. I was like doing stuff. I had just gotten in from Louisiana and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm in charge real quick. And then it was like, wait, are we meeting tonight? I'm like, oh crud, it's only Wednesday.
That's totally fine. I just got the email and was like, what day is it? I had like a little panic.
Yeah, yeah, I messed up everybody. Messed up everybody.
You're totally good.
It's like that when you travel. You know what I mean? Like you forget what day it is, you forget everything.
Hmm.
Were you working that you get home this late or were you at school or?
And I had school. Um,
Mhm.
I'm a full-time student and work 20 hours a week. And
Oh,
so,
okay.
so luckily I work on campus and I TA for a class.
Oh, wow.
So that's really nice. So I get like my own office in one of the buildings and um so but I have to be there in my office hours and so I usually get home pretty late. But
Yeah. Hey, Lee.
Hello.
How are ya?
Hello.
Kylie,
Yep. Can you hear us? Hosanna said she was going to be a couple minutes late. She was putting the kids to bed.
and I think Jordan said he was going to be late too.
Yeah. We can wait a couple more minutes. That's it. Lee, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay. I was just going to say it was showing that your mic was muted, but
Good. You scared me last night.
I'm sorry. I was saying earlier with Bree, I was at the Society for Human Resources Management. Their national conference was in Louisiana. It was like 15,000 people. It was it was great. They had great sessions and everything, but I didn't know what day it was. I didn't, I was doing stuff. I got home. I was like unpacking and all of a sudden it was like, 5 to 10. I'm like, oh my goodness. Not even realizing it was a day ahead of time. So,
That's okay. I thought it was actually great. I'm not the only one that gets mixed up sometimes.
oh, please, please. I was a mess.
Goodness, so you're 2 hours ahead of Mountain Standard Time?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's 10 o'clock here.
10 o'clock is my bedtime.
I
I go to bed so late.
wish. I wish. No, I don't usually get to bed before midnight.
Oh wow.
It's okay. Yeah, I only have to go into my office 2 days a week, and the rest of the time I work from home.
Mhm.
So that's okay. The days I have to go into the office, I have to get up early because it's like an hour and a half ride. But the days I work from home, it's fine. So, and I'm always home on Friday. So actually later on Thursday works fine for me.
Mm-hmm.
I used to I did a class before, and it was a math class, and nobody else was on Eastern time. And so it was at 10 o'clock or 10:30 on Friday nights.
I'm
I was like,
sorry.
Well,
yeah, by 11:45, I'd be like, all right, I gotta go. I'm tired, and I'm trying to do math, so forget it.
yeah.
I did a class not too long ago, an English class with, for some reason, I was put in a group with everybody being from Brazil.
Oh, geez. An English
So
class with
that was
everybody from
fun.
Brazil. Perfect.
Oh, yes. It was easy to decide who was going to do what. I let them write, and then I had to go back and make sure that it made sense.
Oh, that's funny.
That's funny.
That is funny.
I've had to take really early classes this semester. I have a 7:45 a.m. class, and earlier in the semester I had an 8 a.m. class. So I get
Oh
up
my
at
gosh.
6:30 every morning. So that's usually why I wake up so early.
Yeah, I'm much better,
Mhm.
much better at night classes than I would be at morning classes.
Yeah,
That is absolutely for sure.
I'm a night owl. And so waking up early has completely changed that, which is why I go to bed at 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock.
I need sleep. I get cranky.
Yeah. I start work at 5 usually in the morning,
Oh, wow.
and so
Oh.
so I'm doing stuff that usually I'm in bed by 11:30, but then I'm at work by 5. So figure that
Oh
one
my
out.
gosh. Yeah, that's not enough.
So-
That's not enough sleep for me.
My dad likes
enough
to run marathons, and so he will wake up at like 4 a.m. to go run for 2 hours. And I'm like, how is that fun? You know, like
Yeah,
I'm gonna sleep for 2 more hours, you know?
exactly. Yeah. I'm not a runner.
Yeah. Same.
I think in my head I could be a runner, but then in my head I can be a runner. The rest of my
Yeah.
body says no.
My cardio consists of me fast walking to my classes when I'm late. So that's about as much cardio as I get.
There you go. Hey, Hosanna.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello.
I know Jordan's going to be a little late too, but you know what? Let's get started, I guess, because again, it is 10 after 10 in my body. Can somebody say an opening prayer?
I'd love to.
Sure, thanks.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we thank Thee at this time for the many blessings that we've been given, for the opportunity to be in school and to learn about so many things. Please bless us that we might be able to be attentive and be able to do those things that we need to tonight, to be able to understand and grow. And this we pray for in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
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 Hey, Jordan.
Sorry I'm late.
Slipping in during the prayer. Nice job.
Hey, I do it I do it every week on Sunday. I can do it here too.
Right.
I am that kind of
It's
Mormon.
a pattern. So,
Great.
I don't know if you saw my post. I was just talking. I was at a conference this week in Louisiana, and Patrick Lencioni was the keynote speaker, the guy that wrote The 5 Dysfunctions of a Teen.
Huh?
He was dynamic. He spoke. I mean, there was 15,000 of us. He spoke in a general session, so it was probably close to 15,000 in the room. And he was just so dynamic. And he wrote a new book, The Ideal Team. And he talked about, not that this has anything to do with anything else, but he talked about that you need there's 3 pieces that like every individual needs to have First being, you need to be humble. So you have to have humility, which he thinks is the most important personal characteristic that somebody needs to have. And the second is that you have to be hungry. You really want to work. You know, you're not just there because it's a job, you have to do it, whatever. You really want to be there and you want to work. And then the third is that you needed to be smart, and not necessarily book smart, but just smart about how to deal with other people, kind of like an emotional intelligence kind of thing. And then he went through like what happens if somebody only has, you know, one out of the three characteristics or two out of the three characteristics. And it was really good. The book is really, really good. It's worth a pick up and read if you feel like you need to do another business book. But he was wonderful. So when I saw that, when I got there, I'm like, oh my gosh, I just read his book. Literally just finished it on the plane here. So that was cool. Noodles and Company. I got a little confused because I read that case for another class that I did like 2 semesters ago. And I'm like, this is very familiar to me. Did he do this one already? And then when I read it, I had to look back. It was from another business class that I had a couple semesters ago. So I don't know. Personally, a nice job of figuring out where he was failing and then kind of turning that around. So I had a really hard time finding like problems, solutions, because I felt like he already did that.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I don't know how anybody else feels about it.
Well, I could get all nitpicky about it because when you
Please do.
when you start a company, this is your baby. Okay, he's done all this preparation for it. He found the chefs. He's been thinking about it, dreaming about it for however long. It was well over a year. He was thinking about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
How can you go 4 months without doing your finances?
That was one of my issues too. Yeah.
That is sheer gross negligence. I mean, he did great. He made up for it, right? Okay, but then not only are you going 4 months without doing your finances and realizing that you're completely in the red. I mean, you could be hemorrhaging money like you wouldn't believe. To sit there and okay, let's open up another store. Now that's great. Don't get me wrong. You can open up another store. Let's test the waters. Let's test maybe something else is working better, like something else can work better. But if you don't know where you are financially in store 1, do not go and open store 2.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
On campus, I am the IBC TA, and IBC is a program that students do where basically it's like a group of classes that they take and they start a business and they run it on campus. So they're running, you know, they're dealing with real money, they create a real product, they, you know, do all the marketing and finances and everything for it. And I'm the finance TA, so I basically help them with their financial statements and with their kind of bookkeeping, as well as I assist with like their audits that they do every week. And one of the companies is actually struggling with that. They have not made a profit the whole semester. They've been doing this for I don't know how many weeks now.
Oof.
And they have been in the negatives the whole time. And it's because they're in a building that nobody knows about. It's a brand new building that just opened up this semester. And like it's extremely far away from campus. And so they're like wanting to open up a new, you know, place in, you know, the middle of campus, but it's like they can't even, you know, sustain the place that they have now. Who's to say that they're gonna, you know, be profitable with this new place? They may lose twice as much money. And, you know, being an accounting major, not knowing where you stand financially is like the biggest mistake you could possibly make.
Yes.
Like I completely agree with you. Like how can you not? I mean, like there are so many different. I mean, like I understand with a new startup business, usually you hit break even every single, you know, month or whenever your statements are done. Most companies break even just because like you have so many expenses that you have to make up for that your profit is, you know, evening it out, your revenue is. But I mean, not even being aware of it, just like thinking you're okay, like is so dumb.
That was, yeah,
Like,
that was the issue with them, that they
I read
had
that
no
and
idea.
as a major, my brain just like exploded.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
how? How do you do this?
I'm a business major, but my emphasis in finances. So I've done a lot of finance classes. I mean, and so that's where my heart and mind goes. And to read that for 4 months,
Yeah.
they have not done their finances, I screamed.
Yeah. And finance is interesting because I think finance and accounting go hand in hand, because accounting is
They
looking
do.
at the past and finance is looking forward. And if you don't know where you are in the past, you can't move forward and you can't know where.
Especially currently.
Yeah. So
You
That was
can't know the current.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, I'm pretty impressed that they kept finding people that would invest in their business.
No,
Right?
I wouldn't.
I know, especially after they got the bad reviews. It's like the food is awful. And like they're still getting people to finance new locations. Okay.
Let me give you $250,000 for your crappy food.
Yeah.
Right. And then to sit there and if you're one of the first investors, okay, you have so much stock in this company, and so it's struggling. Okay, you still believe in it, but then bad reviews and then all this bad stuff, and here I'm going to sell more shares, and you're going to lose part of this company. Huh?
Yep.
I'm also, one thing I don't understand is when you are a shareholder and when you are buying stock and things like that, you look at their financial statements to look, do I want to invest in this company? Will they even have a profit to give me dividends? Like, will I make this? And
Well,
I just like, I would be screaming no, like.
I think what saved them, though, I think what saved them was that they kind of realized it on their own, right? They realized it, when that basement flooded, they realized it and they said, okay, these are the 5 things we have to do. And then they sat down and did it, and they really did turn it around. So, I mean, Rocky's not even the word. It's kind of the wise man built his house upon the rock kind of thing. This one was built on sand. So they really got off to a bad start. But, over time, they built it and they turned it around, and they have low turnover and and whatever. So it's that that fast casual segment that they're in, right? Restaurants that offer higher quality and creative foods, at a counter service rather than a table. So that's kind of what their biggest challenge is they're in that demographic. So, what specific challenges do you think that they will face?
That they will face?
Or that, well, it's like the question is, what is the specific challenge facing Noodles & Company, kind of in that fast casual segment?
Well, I think it's still the same thing that they had before, because they're growing so fast. How are they going to keep the same atmosphere, and how are they going to keep the people happy that are coming? It's hard to keep everything exactly the same, no matter how you try, because number one, just the luck of who you hire has a lot to do with what goes on. And you try your hardest, but you don't know that you're going to hire the best person for that job. And they're growing so fast.
It's that unanticipated growth that really.
Yeah.
So
that's the big thing to me. Go ahead.
I think another thing that was interesting was while reading the case, it talked about how they were trying to figure out if they wanted to have like a consulting person, a strategy person come in to help them. And the time that all this was happening in the paper was around like 2002, 2003. And if I remember right, the market crashed in 2007, 2005.
Well,
2008.
which
2008.
time? Which time?
Oh, well, like the big drop.
The big one was
1942 and then 2008.
well,
Um,
1929.
29.
and so, I mean, like everything was, I mean, if I remember from my econ class that I took like my freshman year, everything was great and growing, and then it just plummeted.
Mhm.
And I think they really, I mean, obviously they couldn't foresee that. That was something that nobody could, foresee. But I think a strategist would have really helped them because I feel like they almost didn't have a plan in their business. They just wanted to, grow and, have different sites and have different, locations. And that's great and all. But I think you have to have a plan with your company, and you need to have a goal that you're set for and working towards that. And my dad used to be a consultant at a big consulting firm, and he would go and help companies kind of clean them up, and that was all during the recession as well, and help make them a better company. And I feel like although they weren't doing horrible, I feel like they could have benefited from that to make them a better company than what they were already doing.
Another problem I see for them, one, it's the food business. That is a hard business to be in. I worked at a restaurant for about 7 years, and something that they did very well. He did something correct later on was that he brought in another person to be a co-CEO, and all the main guy did was focus on customer service. Customers are your bread and butter. They're the ones that pay the bills. And so when you walk into a restaurant for the first time, unless you walk out and you don't tell 10 people about it, you're so excited, you're not going back to that place.
Mhm.
And so what they did very well, and that's one of the challenges, is he was so customer oriented that he wanted them to they have to go to Noodles and Company. It was something deep inside of them, he found out what it is they wanted. So that was a big challenge that they had that he succeeded in.
No, I agree. Hosanna, do you have any thoughts, or we're kind of monopolizing the conversation?
Well, what
Sorry,
I thought about
Hosanna.
with
Oh, no, I
the,
said we.
uh,
I said we.
No, you're fine. What I thought about with the bringing customers in was I agree that it was the main important thing. Like when they were having that that restaurant that was like in with a Walmart, it was like in the same parking lot, and it wasn't doing well because it wasn't in a neighborhood where their target demographic lived. And they went in, they did like footwork, they did charitable work, and like offering incentives to kids for like good grades and stuff. And I think that for their core values of improving life and stuff, like that showed that they were actually committed to their core values, and it drew in customers because it showed they were committed to the community. And because I focus mostly on marketing, it kind of was like, oh, that's a great way to sell their product, because millennials don't like to feel like they're being sold things. They like to be part of a community or part of a cause. And so if they're constantly giving back to the community and they're showing their charitable work in a way that's not like, look at us, then it really draws in their target demographic. So even to a less desirable location. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, good point. Getting into that community service to, to be a part of the community. Certainly, as an HR person, their recruiting tactics are a little unconventional. Stop people on the street like, hey, you're gonna open a business, you want to come work here? I don't know anything about you. Come on in. I was like, wow, that was one of the problems I found. I'm like, yeah, I think they need a little bit better structured, although it worked for them, right? People never left and there, and they promoted from within. So I don't know, maybe my strategy's not working and I need to start using theirs. I don't know.
What I liked about their strategy was that they said they were going into high schools and colleges and doing recruiting that way. And at least when I was in high school, we never had anybody come in and recruit to us besides schools. And I'm just like, oh, that's really smart to get them started thinking about having a work history rather than just an educational history. So I thought that was kind of a cool idea.
Well, and they talked a little bit too about being, should they be the first to market or should they be the best to market? Like what do they, what should they choose to do? So what are your thoughts on that? Should they be first or best?
I think they should be both.
You
In the best. In the
have
best
to pick one.
I know you have to pick one, but the whole thing is the best is great, but sometimes if they think you're the same thing as the other one that was first, then you kind of have a chance of even though you're better, find out later, but that the first initial part of the business is trying to get people to come for the first time, and if they went to one and was disappointed, why would they come to yours?
Right.
See, I kind of feel like best market is better because when they were first starting out and they had the horrible food, they couldn't turn a profit, right? And so if they're not coming in with good food and good atmosphere, you're not going to get people in. But because they're so willing to go into schools and do the charitable work and the, talking to people, the really like person-to-person marketing, I really feel like they would be able to draw people in with their marketing and their quality. Like I know new restaurants, at least where I used to live, would often partner with a school, and they'd be like, oh, 10% of everything bought on Thursday is going to go to the band at this high school or whatever. And it would draw tons of people in to get them to try their stuff because it was for the school. And so I feel like because they've been so willing to do stuff like that in the past, if they come out strong as best to market, they're going to have the marketing to stay afloat and to get their name out there and then retain customers because of the quality.
Good point. Good see you in marketing. Okay. What about what do you think their corporate culture, and they really, they drove it home, right? Like I love the fact that everybody in a store, like they have to work there and they continue to rotate there. It's not like just a new employee orientation where they say, just go see what it's about. Like every 6 months or something, you still have to go back and work in the store a day or a couple hours just so that you remember what you're working for. So do you think that they can continue that corporate culture that they have through their aggressive growth that they're pushing for?
If they go to the franchising point, I'm not sure they can. If they stay where they've been and go the slow route, I think it's possible. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I think you always give up some control when you franchise, right? Like there's certain things, but you give up some control.
You give up some control, and even if you don't give up too much control, you're letting somebody else have the real dibs of what's going on, and at some point something's going to be different.
Okay. Anybody else have thoughts? Okay. So their mantra was every guest, every bowl, every time. How do we think that that drives corporate profits and structure? When you think of that, like if they say every guest, every bowl, every time, what does that mean?
That they're paying attention to details.
I think
If-
despite, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think it also means like with that, what we said, that they, with that growth that they're also having, they're focused on quality, not just quantity. They're wanting to make it a quality product that people want to come back to, not just having tons of people, eat there.
I also
Yeah, I think
think.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, so Hosanna, you first.
I just think that, yeah, it shows like what you said before, Jordan, about the commitment to having that guy with the customers. As the CEO for just like customer relations, like it shows that they're focused on the customers, every customer, every bowl, every experience that happens in the restaurant. It's about that. That's kind of what it seemed like to me.
For me, I love the mom and pop hometown food, and that's what Noodles and Company was at the very, very beginning. But now look how big they are. And for me, when I hear that, I think no. Well, what they're saying is, even though we're big like this, we are still devoted to you. Like, we still want to be your hometown, your go-to, and so it doesn't matter how big we are. You are still important to us as an individual.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I love how you drill down, Jordan, and you get right to the point. I love that. That's exactly you just said exactly what I was thinking, but I couldn't figure out how to put it into words. And you, thank you so much. You drilled it right down to where it needed to go.
I'm glad I can help.
Absolutely. Oh,
it makes up for showing up at the end of the prayer.
Oh, please. Let's see. So strategies for growth, right? They talked about franchising and they talked about keeping it corporate. What do you think is the best thing for them to do?
Okay, best is a matter of opinion. Okay, so what's best? The quality, the quantity, who are we trying to focus on? Are we trying to focus on the higher ups to see how much money they can get? Okay, franchising. Easy enough. More money, less work. Okay, but if they're trying to focus on the every bowl, every customer, every bowl, every time, corporate.
Okay, good point. Good point. What do you think, Lee?
Well, I've been looking at the spreadsheets, and
of course you have.
I've noticed that yeah, they're growing, but I've also noticed that as they've grown, it's not quite double what it was. It's cutting back a little bit each time. I don't know. I personally, I know that they're going to end up having to franchise, just simply because that's the way that they're going to be able to continue to grow, unless they want to slow down the growth. Things catch up and go, but I honestly think if they stay just with the corporation, they're not going to do it. It's not going to be. It's eventually going to catch up to itself.
Right. No, I agree. And I actually just Googled them, Googled Noodles and Company, because, some of the, we're talking about things that happened back in, early 2000s and things like that. So I was like, wow, are they even around? Because they're not here in New Jersey. Like I've never seen one. So they are still actually started in 1995, right? So, So they are still around, and
Yeah,
and
there's a
about
noodles
30.
company in my city.
Yeah, there's one in Idaho.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
there's one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's one out of Falls. Yeah.
There's
There's one where I
I
used to
think
live, but there's not one here.
30%. They did go to some franchising, but only about 30% of their stores are franchised, and then the rest are corporate. So they kind of did so, maybe you franchise to really infuse some cash into the business, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
And kind of revenue stream that you get from franchising where you don't have the expense. You just kind of
That's
get your
smart.
whatever that money is. So you do
That's
that.
smart.
But then
Yeah.
the bulk of the company they kept as corporate. So they're obviously they're still around. Have you ever eaten there?
No, I'm not a big I don't want to go and spend a
Noodle
lot of
guy?
money on noodles. I'm a beef farmer from Idaho. I like my red meat.
Yeah.
Job
A bowl of
security.
Yeah.
noodles are doing nothing for you. I'm with you on that
No,
one.
I have to have a bloody steak.
I'm the Irish meat potato gal myself. So
Yep. You got it.
how can the organizational culture make or break a strategy in a company? I really like this question because to me, culture's key. You can have the best product in the world, and just look what's going. And this is my opinion, but look what's going on with Uber right now, right? I mean, Uber's to me great concept. Come up with it. It's I've used them many times and whatever, and they are crumbling from the top down. Like
Mhm.
management team, CEO just resigned, things like that, because of the culture that they have embraced in the organization. Look at Fox News, same thing, right? They allow these cultures to just destroy them. And good products, good products, but the culture is killing them. So kind of what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I keep looking back to what he done when they had the flood. The culture wasn't working up to that point, and they
Mm-hmm.
had to decide what they would do to change the culture to make it work. And by doing that, um, they were able to bring it to a success of some sort. And even at that, they still had to look at the culture again when they had to have the managers and change the way the management was. And so I think they were kind of a good example of why we need to always look at the culture and see if there's something that needs to change to keep it alive.
Mhm.
At least that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to
No,
it.
that's what this all is. Everybody's opinion. I mean, I've worked for a company that, I mean, everybody hated to be there. We all liked being together and we liked the work we were doing, but the top was just awful. And one by one, everybody just left because you can only deal with that for so long.
Mhm.
So, culture is really everything. It really is.
Mhm.
Because if you enjoy what you're doing and you're happy to be there, you're gonna work harder.
Mhm. I work for the sheriff's department. I issue driver's licenses, and at least here in Idaho, that falls under the role of the individual sheriffs. Well,
Huh.
in a county just right next to where I'm at, just south of Idaho Falls, the supervisor, uh, and then her supervisor just underneath the sheriff, they made life miserable for everyone who was ever around them. And I mean, instead of speaking with the other employees, they, went to the papers, and so the employees had to hear about things through the papers, which is illegal, by the way, so we know. Well, so the sheriff comes into the office one day, and there are 10 resignation letters in this
Oh my
county
gosh.
of about 4,000 people, and it's all because of these two people. And so, yes, like the morality, like if you hate going into work because of one person or situation or anything like that, they're going to leave to make it better for themselves, and you're left with whoever's in charge high and dry.
Mhm.
That's awful.
Oh, I thought it was hilarious
Okay,
because I know those people, and they are not nice people.
so I think kind of the final, question I'm going to kind of throw out there is, how do we think that the gospel principles apply to this situation or to this case study? Where do we see kind of that
So
overlap? Or,
if it's okay, I'll start.
Mhm.
I think where the gospel comes in is each of us are children of our Heavenly Father. Okay, and we're all important. And he was looking at each individual as being all important, which I think relates it to the gospel, because we're all brothers and sisters, and each of us, if we work together, things are better. And I think that's just the principle that I see, is that by showing the love and concern for each of the individuals, he was actually doing what the Savior taught. Okay, and you can't help but be blessed if you're doing that. That was my comment.
No, it's a good one.
One thing that kind of stuck out to me was that he didn't want a franchise because he wanted it to be about like keep things really good for the people who work there. And he was saying that they had hired extra management so that the general managers at each location could be home more, because like the average was like 85 hours a week or something in the
Mhm.
industry. He wanted them down at 45, and they were saying that, oh, they were missing their children growing up and stuff. And I just thought, oh, he's got this focus on family, like his employees, and on making their quality of life higher. And I thought that that kind of related to the gospel.
When I think about that, I think of my initial concern at the very beginning of the ignorance of just going along and not realizing where you are actually standing in life. And so every one of us that in the gospel are on our own personal conversion. I mean, we could have been members for 40 plus years, but we are still on our own personal path to progression. And unless we actually sit back and figure out where we are, how we are doing, we can't move on. We can't go out and, like, for him open a new store, or for us try and build our testimonies of something else. If I'm going along and I'm having a hard time even going to church, I'm not gonna have this undying testimony of tithing or of the temple. I mean, I have to figure out where, like, look at my life and my progression through the gospel. And I have to know where it is monthly, weekly, daily, however often we think we need to have. And that's my comments.
No, good point.
I think one thing that I thought about was at the very beginning, it was so rough, and he just like was struggling so much, but it ended up like in the long run being so worth it and so worth the perseverance. And I think sometimes when we have trials in our lives, that like it's easy to want to like give up. Like if you're in a hard class, just being like, oh, I just want to drop this class, or things like that. It's easy to get very discouraged, but I think it's important to persevere and that know that the Lord has a plan for each of us, and that sometimes the Lord puts trials in our lives that we just have to persevere through, and we can look back and look at it and be like, wow, I did that. And I think it's important to have faith in the Lord's timing. And I think sometimes that's a completely different kind of faith than just like faith is a little seed. Like this is like a separate faith, that you have to trust in the Lord's timing, because it is something that you can only have if you've experienced having to trust in Him.
Oh. Okay. Any other thoughts or comments, concerns?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. Now, are we not meeting next week? Was that in the announcements or something? She put something out
from
there.
what I remember, week 11 we skip.
Okay.
Oh.
So we're not, okay, so we don't meet next week. There's only like 4 weeks left of class, right? If this is week 10 and there's 14 weeks, so.
Yeah.
And I believe the 14th week is like finals.
Yeah, so we really probably only have 2 more classes then. Week 12 and 13. I know I really, really have enjoyed, you guys and
I love our talk
discussions. I love our discussions. I love them. They've been great.
Yes.
So, okay. So if there's nothing else, we'll bid adieu, I guess, and say have a great weekend, and everybody. So I guess we won't talk before the 4th of July. So listen, I hope everybody has a good, happy, healthy holiday next weekend. I can't believe it's July already. I feel like it was just Easter.
Yeah.
That doesn't even make sense to me. It's like I feel like summer's half over, and actually yesterday just was the first day of summer. So I don't know. I'm all confused. As you know, I'm all confused. So thank you all for your conversations and your comments and really coming prepared. I mean, this has been the best group. Like every week we show up and every week we're prepared, and I just love that. It's there's never lulls in the conversation. We always have a lot to say, and I appreciate that. I do appreciate that personally. So
thank you
thank
for
you all
doing so much.
No, please. And we'll see you in 2 weeks. Does anybody know who's the leader for week 13?
I'm doing it next on week 12. So
Awesome.
Me rushing it along. All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
See ya.